Hello, Pewter people. Scott Reynolds here with another Pewter Pulse. Several Bucs rookies have been turning heads in training camp so far. Let me be clear. I fully expect there to be four starters from this year's draft class on this team, which is kind of incredible when you think about the fact that this is a Tampa Bay team that won 10 games last year without this talented crop of rookies. Center Graham Barton, the team's first round pick, and wide receiver Jalen McMillan, a third round pick, are going to be starters right away. I expect outside linebacker Chris Braswell, the team's second round pick. Well, he's going to be a late bloomer. He'll start later in the year, kind of like Yaya Diaby did last year. Rookie running back Bucky Irving, the team's fourth round selection, and one of our Bucs training camp diary subjects, has turned heads in training camp, and he's going to get his fair share of carries and catches in 2024, but he won't start ahead of Rashad White, not this year. The fourth starter to come from this year's draft class is defensive back Tykee Smith, who has been impressive so far in training camp. The third round pick out of Georgia is the front runner for the nickelback job. And he's not just going to be a starter in Tampa Bay, he's going to be a star. I'm going to talk about Tykee Smith in today's Pewter Pulse and why he gives me Rondé Barber vibes and maybe even some Anton Winfield Jr. vibes as well. But first, a reminder to hit the thumbs up button, give us a like, and also leave a comment. Doing those two things helps us with the YouTube algorithm, gets us in front of more awesome Bucs fans like yourself. And I love reading your comments and getting your feedback on these Pewter Pulses. So now let's talk about Tykee Smith. If you followed Pewter Report's pre-draft coverage, you know I've been a huge fan of his game dating back to West Virginia, but certainly more recently at Georgia, as I watch a lot of Bulldogs football each year. Pewter Report predicted Tampa Bay was going to draft Smith, and we had him as a Bucs best bet at safety. From what I've seen from Smith in camp, he is as good as advertised. Smart, instinctive, rarely out of position. He is a smooth, heady player who certainly doesn't look like a rookie out there on the field. This is what Todd Bowles recently had to say about Smith's high football IQ and how that's been an early edge for the rookie DB. It's a huge edge because he's come in and picked everything up without missing a beat. He has the experience of a 7 to 8 year player, so it seems. He has some things to learn, but he plays so calm and he plays so under control. And he knows where everything is and he can read everything. Along with his toughness, he's the perfect fit for us. In 2 years as a starter at West Virginia and another 2 seasons playing at Georgia, Smith amassed 215 tackles, 21 and a half tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 12 pass breakups, 8 interceptions, including a pick six, and 2 forced fumbles. Now, 4 of those career interceptions came last year when he was the Georgia star defender. Not only was he the star defensive back for the Bulldogs in 2023, he actually played the star position. That's what head coach and defensive play caller Kirby Smart calls the Bulldogs' hybrid nickel safety. Todd Bowles' son, Troy, will be a sophomore at Georgia this year. He's a linebacker for the Bulldogs defense. So Tampa Bay's head coach is incredibly dialed into the Georgia program and has been for years. Bowles loved Georgia safety Lewis Cine in the 2022 draft and would have drafted him with the Bucs' first pick that year. But Minnesota traded up into the end of the first round to grab Cine, one spot ahead of Tampa Bay. Of course, the Bucs got Logan Hall, the defensive tackle, with the first pick in the second round as a result. Bowles loved Tykee Smith and Javon Bullard, the Bulldogs safeties, in the draft this year, but he had Smith graded higher because he made more plays and had a higher football IQ. And the Bucs picked the right safety in Tykee Smith. This is what Bucs All-Pro safety Antoine Winfield Jr. had to say about Tykee Smith a few days ago in camp. He's smart. He's cerebral. He knows his stuff. He plays physical. He plays hard. And he has a great mentality towards the game, which I love. High football IQs matter. They certainly do. A quick look at Canton, Ohio, and the 4 most recent Bucs Hall of Famers, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, and Rondé Barber. all have that in common. They all knew the game of football inside and out. And the reason why they were all able to make plays and make Pro Bowls en route to winning Super Bowl 37 was because they knew the game was won from the neck up. Oh, and by the way, Lynch and Barber just happen to be former third round picks. Tykee Smith is also a third round pick. And he's got a knack for blitzing from the slot that reminds me an awful lot of how Barber did it back in the day, and how Antoine Winfield Jr., who had 6 sacks last year, does it for today's Tampa Bay defense. Like I mentioned early, Smith gives me similar vibes to those guys due to his playmaking ability and heady play from the slot. He's going to get some interceptions too, but watch out for this guy as a blitzer. Can you imagine the Bucs having 2 Antoine Winfield Jr. caliber players in the secondary? That's what Todd Bowles expects from Tykee Smith, to be a playmaker like he was in college. Now, Tykee Smith doesn't have this starting slot cornerback job just yet. Tavierre Thomas has had a very strong start to camp. The veteran newcomer leads the team with 3 interceptions heading into Saturday's practice, but I expect Smith's stock to keep rising into the preseason as he continues to make plays. And Christian Izien, last year's starter in the nickel spot, well, he'll probably be a backup free safety. And I expect this star defender from Georgia, Tykee Smith, to become the next star defender on the Bucs defense. You can help us become a star YouTube channel. We already have, really. We're almost at 15,000 subscribers. So make sure you subscribe to Pewter Report TV for more Pewter Pulse episodes, Pewter Report podcasts, and other great Bucs video content from training camp. And make sure you follow us on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report. And stay tuned to pewterreport.com for all the latest training camp news as we head into the preseason games. And I'll be back soon with a new Pewter Pulse.